Hey there, Natalie France, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, a space completely dedicated to the cultivation of self-love through the practice of yoga. Today's session is all about being aware of your core values and working your core in terms of physical sense as well. I'll explain a little bit more about that in just a moment. So welcome back. Like I said, today's session is about connecting to your core values and also working on your core in terms of the body. So expect some work for your pelvic floor and also for your back body and your abdominals there as well. But in terms of what we think about with your core values, I want you throughout this whole session to think about one thing that's incredibly important to you in terms of how you live your life. That is a rule that you go by. So for me personally, I have to have time for myself at least twice a week. So that's time where I'm not working, where I'm not even focused on a film or anything. I just have time for myself to do something that I want to do, whether it's simply sit at home and rest or go for a walk. I have to have at least those 2 moments of a week that's just for me. It might be a day off for you, or an hour for you, or it could just be something else that you think is a core value in your life that is a golden rule for you to live by. And I want you to have at least that one thing, just one thing will do, something that's so important to you, and it's about you, not about other people, not about someone else. It's just about something that you have to have in your own life, that if you don't have that one core value, it feels like you're missing something and you're not really living the way that you should live. So what's that one core value? What's that one rule that you live by, that you have to have in your own life? Whether it's on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly basis, what's that one thing that you have that's so important? And let that be your motivation as we go through this core focused workout for today, or your core focused yoga practice as opposed to workout for today. You're going to start laying down on your back here. As you come to lay down onto your back, have a bend in your knees. So make sure your feet are hip distance apart and parallel. Your heels just close enough so you can just about tip your heels with your fingers. Palms facing down to the ground, and the shoulders first down into the ground. Allow your pelvis to be neutral at this moment in time. You might have a natural lift of your back between your back and the mat, and that's absolutely fine. But no tucking of the pelvis or arching the back there, just a neutral spine and neutral pelvis, and close off your eyes. So first of all, bring your awareness to your breath. And I would like you to connect to your natural breathing here. So the natural rise and flow of your breath as you inhale and exhale. Aiming to inhale and exhale in and out of the nose, that traditional way to breathe within your yoga practice. Creating that internal heat from within. If you're familiar with your Ujjayi breath, then feel free to engage the Ujjayi breath. If you're not, it's fine. Just think about trying to inhale and exhale in and out of the nose where possible. If you're congested or a little bit sniffly, then of course use your mouth as and when you need to in order for you to inhale and exhale as well. And as you connect to your natural breath here, take that time to reconnect with the focus of today's session. So thinking about core values, and in particular just one core value that you have. Now if you're really struggling to think about what that would mean, so like I said, with me I have this core value that I have to have moments off myself, and that's 2 moments off. And for me it's been 2 days off, 2 days off a week, which might sound like not the norm for most people, but sometimes people have days off. They literally spend that time doing work or doing things for other people and nothing for themselves. So I have to have 2 days off a week for myself, where I don't do anything that's work related. I don't do anything other than what I choose to do, which might be simply to do nothing as a whole. I might choose to go to a yoga class, which for me is different to working. So me going to a class is me just going to a class and enjoying that class for what it is, not thinking about work in terms of yoga. I'll like to go for walks in nature. So that's me. For you, it could be absolutely anything. Maybe it's that you take time out, which is what I do as well, take time out every morning to journal. That could be a core value that you have set as precedent in your life, that you have to have something that you do on your day-to-day, or if you only do it once a week, then once a week. It might be that you have a digital detox when you don't look at your phone and you don't go on social media. So a core value is something that you decide it is. It's something that you live by, a rule that you live by for your own self-development. But it's about you. I want you to specifically think about something that's about you, that's controlled by you, something that assists and enhances your lifestyle. And once you've identified what that is, if you need longer, then feel free to pause the video. But once you've identified what that is, start to flicker open your eyes as we move into some pelvic tilts here. So keep your palms down on the ground. I'm just going to move my left hand so you can see what I'm doing if you need to see me. As you take an inhale, allow your lower back to start to lift off the mat. So you find a deeper arch in the spine there. Now as you exhale, start to press your lower back down to the mat so your pelvis lifts by an inch. It's not a bridge, just an inch at the most off the mat. As you inhale, the pelvis come back down into the mat, and you create that arch, that natural lift, but a little bit deeper between your lower back and the mat. And as you exhale, you press the lower back down, so you imprint the lower back down, your pelvis now lifts at 1 inch off the ground. So rocking the pelvis back and forth, finding that gentle movement in your spine, very small movement, which starts to work into that pelvic region. So like I said, it's a core focus practice for both your mind and the body. Starting to bring some movement into that area that's associated to being the core of your body here. So keep doing those pelvic tilts. As you inhale, the tailbone goes down, the lower back starts to lift just slightly higher than a natural lift. As you exhale, you think about imprinting the lower back down and your pelvis lifts by 1 inch at the most off the mat. And when you get there, you want to take one more inhale to allow the tailbone to press down with that lift of the back. Then another exhale when you get there to allow the back to imprint into the mat as your pelvis then lifts that 1 inch off the ground, and then find yourself back into a neutral spine after that. Moving from here now into your bridge. Therefore, take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, allow now your lower back to press down into the mat where your pelvis starts to then lift. Now from here, control that movement as you articulate moving through your spine. So now your lower back lifts and then your mid back lifts as you come up into that bridge. Keep pressing the shoulders down for a moment. Think about the glutes lifting a little bit more, but not the ribs flaring like this. So you want to keep your ribs contained. So think the back being a little bit lower as your glutes lift a little bit higher. Keeping the ribs drawn in, navel into your spine, making sure your thighs are squeezing in towards one another. They shouldn't be touching, but they squeeze in so you engage your inner thighs there. Now holding here. If you want a slightly deeper version of your bridge, you can start to interlace your fingers underneath your bottom there, then shuffle your shoulders underneath, but still just trying to keep the ribs contained. As you hold it here, keep lifting the glutes up. Take a deep inhale in. Now as you exhale, you've got your shoulders and your hands underneath you, release them back to where they were, and then start to peel yourself down from your mid-back, low back, and the pelvis will come down last back to that neutral position. Inhale as you get down to the bottom. As you exhale, so first of all, press your low back into the mat. You'll enable your spine to start to lift your pelvis. Then your low back lifts, then your mid back lifts. Now make sure that when you come up, you're not lifting the chest so much, your ribs are flaring, so keep the back down a bit more, lift the glutes a little bit higher. You can stay here, the palms pressing down to the mat. You can interlace your fingers underneath you and then shuffle the shoulders underneath you. But still think the back is staying down a little bit more as the glutes raise up. Inhale here. Exhale, release the hands and shoulders from underneath you if you were there, and then start to peel yourself down again from your mid-back, low back, and your pelvis comes down last. We'll go for one more like this. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, pressing that lumbar spine, the low back into the mat. As you start to lift the pelvis, At that point, the low back then lifts, then the mid back lifts. As you come up into that bridge position, again, think that the back stays a little bit lower, but the glutes lift up higher, the thighs squeezing in without touching. You can keep the palms down, or you can start to interlace your fingers underneath you, or the shoulders underneath you, but still just make sure the ribs are not flared, so keep ribs drawn in. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, release the hands and shoulders from underneath you, peel down once more for your mid back, low back, and your pelvis comes down last. Nice, and from here, hug your knees into your chest, and then take your hands on to either shin here. Having that nice squeeze of the knees into chest, elbows out to sides. As you exhale, start to lift the head up so the forehead comes towards your knees. Inhale to release, back down. Exhale to lift up. Inhale, release down. And again, exhale to lift up. Inhale to release down. One more time, as you exhale to lift up, you're going to hold here for 3 deep inhales and exhales. So take a deep inhale in. Exhale to release. Take another deep inhale in. Exhale to release. Take another deep inhale in. Exhale to release. Inhale, release the head down. Then from here, take the hands behind your thighs, then start to gently rock up and down on the mat. So rocking the back up and down on the mat. Until you eventually come all the way up. Once you come all the way up there, swing around onto your knees and you come into all fours, into that tabletop position. So think about having your fingers nice and widely spread, with the hands under the shoulders. Knees are under the hips, so the knees are hip distance apart from parallel. Press away from the ground so you have that protraction for the shoulders, but micro-bend the elbows so you're not hyperextended. And then from here, tuck your toes. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, hover your knees off the mat. Draw the navel into the spine, so start to bring some work into your abs now. Take an inhale in. As you exhale, the knees come down to the ground. Take another deep inhale in. Exhale, hover the knees off the mat, draw the navel up into the spine once more. Keep your gaze towards the front of the mat. Take another inhale in. Exhale, release the knees down to the ground. One more time, take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, hover the knees off the mat again, lift up into your abdominals. Take another inhale. Now you exhale, press up and back into a downward facing dog. So you might just take your feet back a little bit further. You might need to walk your hands a little bit further away. Keep the fingers nice and widely spread. Think about pressing your thumbs and index fingers into mats to help you find that ideal position of the fingers there. Feet hip distance apart and parallel. Draw the heels down to the ground. Find stillness here for a moment in your Adho Mukha Svanasana, so your downward facing dog pose. Release your head down, taking your drishti, so your gaze into your navel or between the backs of the legs. Feel the length in the legs here, feeling the length in your spine, especially here. Then start to bring that gentle movement into your downward facing dog. So exhale to bend one knee. Inhale, transition, exhale, bend in the opposite knee. Aiming to keep the hips elevated up to the ceiling as you bring that movement into the legs here. Good, then start to bring yourself back to stillness once more in your Adho Mukha Svanasana, so your downward facing dog. Draw the heels back down to the ground, find that length. So the spine as well as the back of the legs, you hold it here. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, start to walk your feet forwards towards the front of the mat. So bringing yourself into that forward fold. Keep the feet for a moment hip distance apart and parallel. Release your head down to the ground. Bend your knees, your hands stay on the ground. And then grab hold of each elbow so the head rests nice and heavy. And then start to sway the hips from side to side here. So again, bring that focus to the middle part of the body. And make sure it's the hips swaying and not the arms swaying on their own. So the hips sway and the arms will move. If the arms are just moving and the hips aren't doing anything, you need to sway those hips a little bit more. So bring that movement into the hips here from side to side. And start to bring yourself back to being still once more. Releasing the hands down to the ground. You can keep bending the knees here. No need to straighten legs at this moment in time. Just release the head down and hold it here. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, start to restack your spine one vertebra at a time. So use your abdominals to lift you up. As you come all the way up to standing, allow one part of the spine to unravel, restacking the vertebra. The head's the last thing to come up. Once you come all the way up to the top, make sure you're standing about a foot distance from one of your own feet away from the front of the mat here, with your feet hip distance apart and parallel once more. And then as you lengthen the legs, just put that softness in the knees so not hyperextended. Lengthen the tailbone down to ground. So be careful not to be sticking your bum back, but also not to be overly tucking the pelvis under. So try and find that happy medium where it's more of a neutral spine, but you're lengthening the tailbone down to the ground here. And the palms face into your front, into your Tadasana mountain pose. Shoulders back and down, have energy through the fingers. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, sit back into your Utkatasana chair pose. As you come into that Utkatasana chair pose, so again, thinking about the core, which your pelvis is a very important part of the core, just pay attention you don't start to then stick your bum back. Again, equally like I said when you're in your Tadasana, you're not tucking the tailbone under. So you just want to kind of think lengthening down. So if you just think lengthen, that should give you the place where the pelvis wants to be. So it's not tucking, it's not arching, just lengthen down so you're in that neutral spine there. Palms face towards another, shoulders away from the ears as you hold in your Utkatasana chair pose. Grounding into your heels, your toes easily lift off the ground and then down. And just holding here, drawing the hands to prayer to heart center. Thumbs against your sternum, elbows out to the sides. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale now, rotate to your right side. So your left elbow comes to the outside of your right knee. Keep your gaze down to the ground. So if I face you here, mirror you here, be careful of what your knees are doing. So make sure you don't have one knee going in front of the other. So in this case, your left knee doesn't want to be going too far forwards. You want to keep the knees nice and aligned. Equally, watch that your prayer is not doing this when you're dropping down towards your thighs. So use the elbow and the knee to go deeper into a twist and keep your thumbs against your sternum, okay, as you hold it here. So hold your twist. Using that twist to kind of get a little bit more into your abdominals there, a bit more into the obliques there, as you hold it here. Keep the gaze down to the ground. Keep the thighs separated, so make sure your knees aren't touching, and make sure your thumbs stay against your sternum the whole time as you hold in this twisted chair. Take a deep inhale in and come back to your standard Utkatasana chair pose. Again, just make sure you're lengthening the tailbone down to the ground rather than sticking the bum back or over tucking. Just think lengthening down. Then draw the hands of prayer into your Anjali Mudra once more. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, this time rotating to your left side, so the right elbow comes out of the left knee. Keep the gaze down, make sure both knees are level and your hands stay to prayer to heart center when your thumbs are against your sternum. Take another deep inhale in here. As you exhale, rotate back through center into your Utkatasana chair pose. Take another inhale in. As you exhale, release down into your Uttanasana, your forward fold. So let your wrists be in line with your big toes here. Release your head down, bend your knees as much as you need to in order to get your hands down to the mat. Release the head down so you're not holding tension in your neck. As you inhale, lift up halfway into your Ardha Uttanasana. Ideally, have your hands resting on your shins and not floating in mid-air. Don't be too fixated and having fingers down to the ground and then arching your spine. Your spine is straight, so think lengthening for the spine, shoulders back and down, and start to put the chin to your chest. Take an inhale in. As you exhale, bring the hands back down to the mat. Step your right foot back. Step your left foot back into a high plank position. Fingers nice and widely spread. Hands under your shoulders. Press away from the ground to have that broadening for the shoulders once more. Very micro bend to elbows, not hyperextended. Lift up into your abdominals. So we're going to hold it here. If you need to modify, you can have your knees down, but keep your weight forward. So you're not in a tabletop here. Keep your weight forward if you're going to have the knees down. Otherwise, keep your knees lifted off the mat and draw your navel up into your spine. Shoulders back and down, connect to the shoulders, but again, bring that awareness back to your core. So you want to think a little bit more of a tuck of the pelvis this time, and then from there, lifting up into the abs. So thinking about those real fundamental elements of your core working. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, release your knees down, release toes out behind you, squeeze the elbows in. Now keep lifting up into your abs as you lower down into the modified Chaturanga Dandasana. So come all the way down to the ground, but make sure your abs come down with your chest and not your abs before your chest. Keep the elbows in here. Now your next inhale, lift up into your Bhujangasana, so your cobra pose, only lifting up a little bit. Pressing the pelvis once more into mat. Keep the elbows squeezed into your sides. As you exhale, bring yourself back to a Balasana, so your child's pose. So toes together, knees either side of the mat. Rest your forehead down to the ground, have the elbows off the mat as you reach your arms nice and long out in front of you and sinking into your hips. Into your Balasana, your child's pose here. Bringing that awareness back to the theme of today's session, so working your core and what in your life is a fundamental rule that you live by. What is something that's really important to you, that sets the foundation for who you are as a person. And like I said, you might have multiple things, but just focus on that one thing. And then from here, starting to bring yourself back to your knees once more. So come back to your knees and then walk your hands back. So you come into that tabletop position with your fingers nice and widely spread and press away from the ground. Keep a micro bend in the elbows. Tuck your toes again. For that hovering of the knees off the ground. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, hover the knees off the ground, lift up into your abdominals. Keep your gaze towards the front of the mat. Take a deep inhale in. Exhale, your knees tap down to the ground. Again, take another inhale. As you exhale, your knees hover off the mat. Take an inhale in. Exhale, your knees tap down to the ground. One more time. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, your knees hover off the mat. Now hold it here. Keep the gaze to the front of the mat. Keep the connection to the shoulders. So really think shoulders connected, but keep your micro bend in the elbows. Keep lifting up into abdominals. Take a deep inhale in. Now as you exhale, step your right foot back. Then step your left foot back into that high plank once more. Take another inhale in. As you exhale, release your knees, release your toes up behind you for your modified Chaturanga. Squeeze the elbows in. Take another inhale. As you exhale, keep lifting up into abdominals. Lift, 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 and then you come all the way down to the ground. Into your Bhujangasana, your cobra. So as you inhale, lift your head and chest slightly while shoulders back and down, keep the toes and the pelvis connected into the mat here. As you exhale, come up onto your knees once more, and then find yourself in a tabletop. So you might just readjust yourself back to a tabletop. Tuck your toes again. Take another inhale in. As you exhale, hover the knees off the mat. Take an inhale in. Exhale, the knees tap down. We'll go again. Take an inhale. Exhale, hover your knees off the mat. Take an inhale. Exhale, knees tap down. Take another deep inhale in. Exhale, knees come off the mat. Hold it here. Now step your left foot back and your right foot back into that high plank. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, release your knees down. Release your toes up behind you. Take another inhale in here. As you exhale, lift up into your abs, squeeze elbows in as you come down to this modified version of the Chaturanga once more. Then you lift up into your cobra, so think chest open, shoulders back and down, your toes release out behind you. As you exhale, press back into a child's pose. So toes together, knees either side of the mat, reach your arms long as you sit back into your heels, sinking into your hips. If you want a slightly deeper variation of your child's pose, mainly for your arms and your wrists, then start to lift the palms of the hands off the mat as if you had a tennis ball underneath each hand. So get that connection from your armpit right way down to your fingertips then. Just hold in here, nice and steady, and breathe. And once more, reconnect to or start to think about that one value that you have in your life, that golden rule that has to be a part of your day-to-day or your weekly life. Something that's really important to you, that's it's a no-no if you don't have it. If you don't have it in your life, you know that something is wrong. It's a goal in terms of your values. It's that thing that you have to live by. A value that's really important to you. With some people, it might be to have a yoga practice. With some people's values is that they must have a regular yoga practice. And that's a very valid value to have in one's life. Or any kind of regime that's fitness focused or mindset focused. From here, the palms literally start to pull the palms of the hands back down to the ground and starting to walk your hands back in towards you. And then from here, just bring your knees together, roll onto one side, any side will do, so that your feet come out in front of you and you're sat roughly in the centre of the mat. Taking your hands behind your thighs, walking your toes up into tip toes, keeping your chest nice and elevated. Be careful to collapse into the chest. Keep your chest lifted as you have your hands behind your thighs here. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, float one and then the other leg off the ground into that tabletop, into the Navasana boat pose. So keep it lifting up into your chest. You can keep your hands behind your thighs or reach your arms out in front so your palms start to face in towards one another. Keep your shoulders rolling back and down. Now think deep abdominal engagement here. So really think deep abdominal engagement. Take an inhale. As you exhale, start to find your way lowering into that low boat, okay? Keep your chest open, shoulders back and down. Try and keep your back off the mat. Try and keep your toes off the mat. Take a deep inhale in here. Exhale, bring yourself back into Navasana boat pose. Good, take an inhale. As you exhale, again, think length, think hovering, think abdominal engagement. So pay attention to your back. Your low back will start kicking if you don't use your abs. Start able into your spine, chest is open. Take an inhale. As you exhale, lift back up into Navasana boat pose. One more time here, take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, start to lower back into that low boat and hold it here, chest open, abs engaged for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly bring it back down, hug your knees into your chest and take a gentle rock from side to side, massaging your back into the mat. Then once you've had some time to rock from side to side, bring yourself back to being nice and still. Allow the soles of your feet to come down to the ground, keeping a bend in your knees. You can take your hands out either side of you either into a T-shape or catch shape with bent elbows. And then from here, allow your hips to go a bit more to the right. As you exhale, legs fall to the left and take your gaze to your right side into that supine twist. Just holding here. Breathing into the right side of the body, giving your front body a nice stretch, twisting into your thoracic spine. As you exhale, bring yourself back through center. This time allow your hips to go to your left as your knees go to your right and your head turns to your left. Holding here. Once more, breathing into the left side of the body. And then from here, keep your legs on the right side, roll your torso all the way back into the right side. Then swing yourself up to come to seated. So thinking about having your feet hip distance apart and parallel, so your toes tracking away from you. Bring your hands behind you so your fingers are facing in towards your body for your reverse tabletop here. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, start to lift your bottom up. So think about the pelvis coming up, shoulders back and down. Keep your gaze forward as you hold it here. So stabilising the upper body, but lifting up in those hips, using your abs. So think back body engagement, abdominal engagement, pelvic floor engagement, holding here. Inhale. Exhale, releasing yourself back down to the ground. So we'll do that one again. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, so think pressing down to the hands and feet together, lifting those hips, shoulders, think back and down. Keep your gaze forward, so really try not to be like here with your palm dipping down to the ground. Really use your abs to lift you, use those back muscles to help you, use your pelvis to help you. Holding here, inhale, exhale, releasing down. So from here you can go back to that reverse tabletop or you can progress into your reverse plank. Reverse plank, straighten legs, keep your legs glued together. Again, the hands are behind you, fingers facing in towards your body. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, ground down into the hands, start to lift the hips up, try and get the toes down to the mat. Internally rotate, the legs are coming in towards one another. Keep your gaze forwards, connect the shoulders back and down, think pelvis lifting, holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then slowly releasing down to the ground. Bring your feet back in towards you, shuffle your bottom a bit more to the centre of the mat. Keep the feet hip distance palm to palm now. Inhale, raise your arms up. Exhale, chin to chest. Now start to slowly roll down to the mat. So think moving through the pelvis here. Draw the navel into the spine so your abs are engaged. Until you eventually come down to the ground. Once you come down to the ground, your head comes down again. Hug your knees into your chest and take a gentle rock from side to side, massaging your back into the mat once more. Once you've had a few moments to rock from side to side, bring yourself back to being nice and still into your final resting pose. So today I'm going for reclined butterfly. So I want the soles of the feet together, knees out to sides. You can go for your full shavasana, so one leg either side of the mat. So regardless of which option you've gone for the legs, have your palms facing up to sitting. Connect the shoulders. Let the spine be neutral, let the pelvis be in a neutral position, so that's important for the comfort there. And close your eyes. Bringing the awareness back to the focus of today's session. So what is that one kind of core value that you have to have in your life? Then there's so many things, like I said at the start. It could be that you have a certain amount of respect for yourself, that if people step over the mark of you, that you don't let them have a place in your life anymore. You know, you have that level of respect for yourself that no one else can disrespect you. So it depends on what you want to see as a core value. There are rules that you live by, but the rules that you live by are defined by you. Like I said, I have to have at least 2 days for myself each week where I do things for me that aren't work related, that aren't for anybody else, they're just for me. Things that make me feel uplifted and that enhance my own life. And during those 2 days, it might be that I decide that I want to go for a walk. I have a beautiful place, reservoir behind me that I can go and go for a walk in, or I have a canal near to me that I can go and have a walk in. Normally in the summer, it's a little bit cold now, but on a nice, fresh summer's autumn day, it's still a nice place to go to. I journal, I make sure I write in my journal. But that's part of the 2 days off that I make mandatory for myself. I've sometimes worked on those days to get things done, but I've had to be personally quite strict for myself to not do any work on the days that I class as my days off, to make sure that I'm having that time for me to just enjoy life, just enjoy those moments of stillness, you know. I like to have a regular yoga practice or Pilates practice or bar, so I do mix it up with all three. Like I like to incorporate one of those things into those days as well. But again, that's me making sure I have 2 days off a week. It might be that you have an hour for yourself each morning where you just focus on doing maybe some yoga or some meditation. That might be something you do each day. I also have that as well, so I'm giving you different examples that are actually relevant to me, but you might have other examples of values in your life that you must have. That if you don't have them, then there's a sign of something being, a sign of you not aligning to what your life is meant to be for you. It might be you don't know what those values are, and I'm giving you some ideas as to what they could be to help guide you in the right direction. It might be that you've never even thought about the values, and maybe you feel like there's something wrong in your life where you don't have those that need to be set. So you can stay here longer, and again pause it if you need to kind of evaluate your life and understand for you what a core value is in your life. Otherwise you can join me in hugging your knees into your chest and taking a gentle rock from side to side until you eventually roll onto the right side of your body. Once you roll onto the right side, start to bring yourself up into a comfortable seated position. That might be cross-legged, that might be kneeling. Close up the eyes. Bringing a hand to prayer to heart center into Anjali Mudra, sitting nice and tall, shoulders back and down the base, back, tucking your chin to chest. Thanking yourself for taking time to practice yoga today, and I'm always grateful for you joining me too. Take one more final deep inhale in through the nose. Exhale out from the mouth to release. Look and open your eyes. And slowly lifting your gaze. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you gained some insight and some use from today's session. As always, if you love the video, give it a thumbs up. Please make sure you have subscribed to my channel and hit the bell to make sure you get notified each time I upload a new video. Until next time, do enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you again real soon. Take care of yourself.